Episode 11 proved one thing and one thing only. These islanders will say the messiest thing you've ever heard and then act completely shocked when somebody gets offended. Between Zach throwing rocks and hiding his hands, KC getting dragged into drama he didn't even create, then we have Gabe moving on from Beatrice at record speed, and baby Anniyah was ready to fight for her life over one conversation. This villa was a whole circus, okay? And don't even get me started on Zach ending up in the Hideaway after saying he wanted to slow things down with Kayda. Baby, the math is not mathing. Let's get into it.
Kay Unscripted, no teeth restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is Kay Unscripted. I am a girl Kay, and today we're breaking down Love Island USA Season 8, Episode 11. Yes, we're on Episode 11 because Episode 10 was After Sun, okay? So, before we get into this video, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So, let's talk about the episode. We pick up after elimination. Bea just went home and the Islanders are all processing what just happened. We see a couple of chats happening. First is Gabe and Jen, okay? So he's asking her to give him a moment because he cannot fake what he's feeling right now. Remember, he was just crying and bawling his eyes out, right? He's talking about how great of a person Bea was. But Jen is just happy to be in a couple, okay? And baby, as far as I'm concerned, Gabe's chase only lasted for a couple of hours, okay? Anyways, we get to Kenzie and Caleb, who are now a couple. Kenzie's saying how bad she feels for Gabriel. And so Caleb's like, anyways, let's just focus on us, okay? Why do you think America put us together? How are you feeling about it, okay? So Kenzie says she loves it. She's been waiting for a guy like him to come into the villa. And she's telling him how she has more in common with him than she has with Corbin, okay? Lying, okay? Just lying again, okay? But then she said she's never dated a younger guy, and that's giving her a bit of a yellow flag. So Caleb was like, but girl, it's just 2 years. Now, do I really think that's what's holding Kenzie back? No, I feel like Kenzie is lying. Again, she is lying because we see that Caleb is not as sexual as Corbin, okay? Kenzie's thirsty and so is Corbin, but Caleb is a bit more of a gentleman, okay? He's not trying to be all freaky on this show, okay? And we see that Kenzie's been wanting to get it in, okay? And that is what's really holding her back, because Caleb is not like that, okay? He will give a little kiss here and there and stuff, but he's not being extra with it like Corbin has been. Now, she says in her confessional that she's having a hard time juggling 2 relationships. And as much as she's saying she's getting what she's wanted in a guy, she still has a hard time accepting and focusing on Caleb. But that's not what you were telling him though, okay? Anyways, Sincere and Soul head to Soul Ties to have a chat. He's saying that he's happy to be in a couple with her, and she's happy as well. She's just feeling like she doesn't have to walk on eggshells anymore. He's saying how attractive he feels like Soul is in his confessional, and how he cannot wait to share a bed with her. And he starts complimenting her, and they share a cute little peck, right? That's the most we've seen of Sincere and Soul after everything that went down so far with these two. Now we move on to Melanie and Corbin. Corbin's not feeling this new recoupling, and so Melanie tells him, hey, I don't think it's such a bad idea that we're in a couple. It worked out the way it's supposed to, and while they still have feelings for other persons, they get to explore their connection, right? Corbin tells her that she cannot crash out every time she sees Sincere holding hands with Saul, and that tells me that this girl was being a terrorist in the villa, okay? She has been crashing out for the past couple of days in the villa and just acting a damn fool. Anyways, he said to her that he feels like they have had something between them, and he's been wanting to explore with her, and so they do a quick little intro with each other, you know, and it was cute, right? The conversation was really nice. Now, so the Islanders are getting ready for bed, and we see Melanie and Saul have a quick little chat. Mel's saying that she doesn't want to be beefing with her, and it's just that she does like Sincere a lot, and saw herself being with him outside of the villa. Saul empathizes with her and says she understands that they're both in a shitty situation, but they hugged it out. And then we see Mel asking Saul if she and Sincere kissed again today, and Saul confirms that they did. Mel didn't like that at all, okay, and she decides that she doesn't want to sleep in the room with everyone, so she heads to Soul Ties to sleep. A bit dramatic, but whatever. So it's bedtime and everyone is making out with each other except Zach and Kayda, who doesn't want to do too much too fast, okay? And then we have Melanie and Corbin, who are separate. Like I said, Melanie went to sleep in Soul Ties, but everybody else was definitely getting it in, making it out. Okay, making out. Not making it out, my lord. Okay, so we get to the next morning and some of the girls go check up on Melanie in Soul Ties. She's telling the girls that she wished that Sincere would have just been honest with her. He's everything but his name. And I said, oop. Okay. Now, Bryce and Trinity talk about the whole Sincere situation, right? Trinity is saying, yes, he's a good guy, but he lies a lot, okay? And said that he was just saying in the kitchen the night before that he didn't want to pair up with Saul. And she just feels like he should explore his connection with Saul but be honest about it. And I have to agree with her. But Sincere, don't you think that's going to come back and bite you in the behind? It definitely will. So anyways, they're just sitting by watching all the mess go down while they say they're growing on their relationship. And I don't know what Trinity sees in Bryce. I want him off my screen. I just feel like she deserves a lot better. But anyways, Melanie and Anniyah talk. Anniya's just checking in to see how she's feeling about Corbin, since Melanie and Corbin are now a new couple. Melanie said that they had a good chat and they both agreed to just take things slow, but she's excited to explore her connection with him. She said in her confessional that she woke up wanting a fresh start, and so she's going to focus on her new couple, and Sincere should do the same and focus on his couple with Saul. So we check in on KC, who asked Saul to come sit with him, and so they have a little chat and he's checking in to see how she's feeling. She said she's better and she feels good about being in a couple with Sincere, but also feels like he was the only one who actually showed interest in getting to know her, and so she continued to pursue things with him. This is where her head is at. She also tells him that she did want to talk to him, but it's giving closed door, okay? So he tells her when he first saw her come in, he liked what he saw and the guys knew he was interested, but then when he saw Sincere making a move, he just kind of fell back. Now, I like KC. I think he's a really good dude, and they did have a really nice conversation. We do see that they end up talking a little bit later, but we're going to get to that, okay? Now let's talk about Corbin and Kenzie, okay? They talk about their new couples. She said she was having a hard time, and like I said, Kenzie be lying, okay? She be lying. She's not, okay? We saw you kissing Caleb, so why are you now telling Corbin that you're having a hard time, you're struggling? Kenzie, please, okay? You were just telling Caleb that he's exactly what you want, and now you're telling Corbin that you're having such a hard time getting into things with Caleb because you were thinking of him. Kenzie girl, why are you lying? Why are you lying? Anyways, he's then asking her for a kiss. He just wants to kiss her just about anywhere, okay? And she told him, go give your kisses to your new couple. But then she gets mad at him because he didn't kiss her. Kenzie, please. Kenzie. Anyways, so they go up to Soul Ties so they could secretly kiss each other. And like I said, they're both just thirsty as hell. All these two have is a sexual attraction, nothing more, okay? So now Melanie decides to check in on Kenzie. Kenzie's saying that she's not okay because she has these strong feelings for Corbin. and Melanie saying she's choosing to have a better day, but she just couldn't lay in bed with Corbin because of Kenzie being there too in the room, and she just couldn't handle seeing Saul and Sincere in bed together. So this is why she decided to go sleep in Soul Ties. She tells Kenzie that she knows she's not okay with her exploring Corbin, but she cannot move forward unless she gets the green light from Kenzie. And so Kenzie tells her, you know what, it's all good, go ahead, it does hurt my feelings, but I'm going to be just fine. So then we check in with Kayda and Zach. He said he's happy with his connection with her, but she decides to bring up the statement he made the night before while they were in bed, where he told her he doesn't want to do too much in case someone else comes along. Okay, something along these lines, right? He said something like that to her. So Kayda tells him that this left her thinking that he was waiting for someone else to come into the villa, and he said he was just thinking out loud. He said he's really happy with her and doesn't think anyone could make him change his mind. But Kayda says in her confessional that her feelings for Zach are growing every day, and she loves that they are able to have these deep conversations. Now let's talk about Gabriel, because he's not sad anymore, okay? He's not thinking about Bia anymore. Remember, he was crying his eyes out for Bia, but now he's tonguing down Jen. And it was just so weird to me the way he initiated the kiss, because they were just talking and then he was like, are you shy? Are you sure? Are you 100%? And next thing you know, he's all over her and they're kissing. That was just weird as hell to me, but Jen is just happy to be getting kissed on, okay? So anyways, while KC and Anniyah are talking, KC gets a text about a couple's soccer challenge. And so then everyone gets dressed up in different colors. Each of the couples has to get a ball into the goal without using their hands. Then they get to eat some nasty sausage while ketchup and mustard is thrown at them. Then they jump into some slime and they must collect enough to pour into a jar. And then they're asked a question and they must respond by throwing the slime on the person who they feel the question pertains to. And that's when the mess began. Okay, so Trinity and Bryce were up first, and we're just going to go through the questions. So the question they had was which player is carrying the couple, and they chose Caleb. The next couple up was Kenzie and Caleb. Their question was which players fumbling the ball, and they chose Gabriel. Next up was Casey and Anniyah. Their question was which player is secretly scouting other options, and they chose Corbin. The next couple up was Melanie and Corbin. Their question was which player is the most overrated player, and baby, they chose Sincere, okay? The next couple up was Kayda and Zach, and apparently they had to do the challenge 3 times, right? Trying to get the ball into the goal. That had to be done 3 times. They're whack ass, okay? Anyways, the question was which players acting like they already won the league, and why did Zach say he's choosing someone who wants to explore with someone else, but they're with someone they think is safe? And he was talking about KC. That's who he chose. And y'all, let me tell you, Zach, you know you were messy as hell, because what do you mean? That was so shady, to the point where the host himself had to ask him, what do you mean by that? Okay, and he said he feels like when Saul came into the villa, Casey was interested in her and didn't want the hassle of getting into it. Now, they say it wasn't a dig at Anniyah, but actually it was a dig at Anniyah, because he said that Casey went with the safe option. Okay, so what does that say about Anniyah? Clearly he's with Anniyah, so who else are you talking about? Y'all are messy as hell. Now it's Jen and Gabe's turn, and per usual, Gabe was doing the most. He was rubbing the ball on the girls' privates, and that was just cringe to me. Why are you doing that, Gabe? Anyways, their question was which player has been caught offside the most, and they chose Sincere because they felt like he was the sneakiest. Then lastly, we have Sincere and Saul. Their question was which player would most likely get booed by the fan, and they chose Bryce, and I agree. Bryce, boo-hoo. So the challenge is over. The Islanders head back to the villa. Bryce, Trinity, Kayda, and Zach are together. Kayda saying that Anniyah is mad at them, and Zach is saying, well, I didn't lie. He was interested in Saul and didn't want to explore her, so he should go do what he wants to do. Zach is getting on my nerves, okay? So now Anniyah and KC is talking about that question, right? They think that the question was way more towards Kayda and Zach. In fact, we did see Trinity say that the question was more referring to them as well, okay? But he explains that he doesn't feel restricted, because she was saying that it's kind of giving you might feel like I'm restricting you in some way. But he's like, no, I'm just not going to force myself to do something I don't want to do, okay? She does tell him that she doesn't want him to feel like she's limiting his experience, and he said, well, the same for you too. Now, I feel like maybe at some point he did want to explore Saul, but probably doesn't feel the need to anymore. But also, Anniyah, if you're going to be checking him each time he talks to somebody, that's too much, okay? He still has the right to explore. You all are not closed off, so he can be interested in talking to somebody else if he wants to, okay? Now we see Melanie and Corbin talk about the challenge. He's saying that he couldn't really enjoy the kiss because of the water aspect, but he does let her know that he and Kenzie shared a kiss earlier when they had a chat. She was fine with it, but she does say he does say that he wants to get to know Melanie for who she really is, and not the Melanie that was associated with Cynthia, and I felt like that was cute too, okay? Then Caleb and Kenzie talk about the challenge. She feels like they had a lot of chemistry, but baby, Caleb was not with the shits, right? He said, I need to set some boundaries here because we're in a couple. He's not feeling the way she's moving with Corbin because they're in a couple now, and she and Corbin are not together again, okay? She's talking about, oh, I will try to communicate. No, girl, leave Corbin alone. Anyways, she tells him that they kissed, and Caleb said, well, do you, girl? Hopefully you pick me, but you know what? Do you? I feel like he was just over it at this point. Anyways, the Islanders get ready for the evening. Everyone gets dressed up. Bryce makes a toast, and then we see Kayda and Trinity going for a chat. Trinity says she misses Bear, and so they're clocking how fast Gabe has moved on, and that they feel like he and Jen do not match. And I said period. I'm here for the tea, okay? Meanwhile, Jen and Gabe are chatting, and he's saying now that Bea is gone, he's ready to focus on her. And that was just real fast, okay? Now he wants to know if she wants to know if he's interested in getting to know anyone, and he said no, and clearly that's because she probably does want to explore with someone else but hasn't had the chance to yet. She's not naming names, but she did let us know that he is not her typical type. She said that to him as well, but he's caring and confident, and the things that she's looking for in a partner, she's seen it in him. But Gabe wasn't feeling that at all. He's like, why are you telling me that you just like my personality, okay? But for some reason they end up kissing again, and the girls clock him, and they're like, but damn, Bea just left and y'all are already tonguing down each other, and they're not stopping. They're just going at it and at it and at it. Oh my lord. Anyways, Corbin and Melanie go chat, and she's asking about his background. Corbin talks about how he had such a big imagination as a child. He once made a rocket ship out of cardboard, and so his creative side plays out in his job in videography. She said that she's into that too, and she likes creating storyboards. And then they just decide to lay back and chill. He's telling her he always wants her to be herself, and she said she wants him to do the same. Now they seem to be feeling each other, and you could tell that this is what Melanie needs. And like I said, I've seen Corbin talking more about his background and showing more of who Corbin really is with Melanie than he has done with Kenzie, because all they do is kiss, okay? Now, Anniyah has a talk with Zach and Kayda about the question and more so the explanation that Zach gave. She said that really hurt her feelings. But can we just take a moment to talk about how beautiful Anniyah is? Oh my goodness, she is so gorgeous. Wow, her beauty really showed tonight, okay? Anyways, Zach said he's sorry and that he didn't mean to hurt her feelings. And so she mentions him saying the statement about the safer option. Now, he said he didn't say that, but Zach, you did. You definitely said that KC is with the safer option. He then says that apparently KC said, why would he risk something good? And so that's why he chose KC, but Zach is lying. He did make that comment about choosing the safer option, but he's kind of doubling down on it like he didn't say that. So then we see KC pull Saul for a chat. He's asking her how she felt about the challenge, and she feels like it was fun and they're just kicking for real. Alright, good vibes between them. So then we get back to Anniyah's conversation with KC and Kayda, more so Zach and Kayda, but more so Zach. She's starting to feel like maybe KC is saying one thing to her but another to the guys, and Zach tells her now that isn't the case. He's not saying anything else that he's not saying to you. He's never really said that he wants to explore with someone else. So then why did you say what you said, Zach? Why? Make it make sense. Because if you're saying that KC never really said that, then why make that statement to begin with? Now we get back to Saul and KC. She's saying that it's less tense now that everyone's in a couple, and she was kind of feeling everyone's energy, but there was really no energy coming towards her from the guys, as in trying to get to know her or to explore a connection with her. But she's not about to go ask for them to check her out, right? KC does tell her that this is the first time he was interested in someone else, but it's scary for him to leave something that's good. But she said it's exploring. That's what we're here to do. Now, the moment Anniyah sees KC talking to Saul, she starts getting tense, and then we see Saul telling KC that he robbed himself of an opportunity of getting to know her and trying to find out if they had something between them. Then Anniyah walks up to them and she interrupts the conversation and asks to pull KC for a chat, and she said, why the hell are you cheating so hard? Baby, Anniyah was annoyed as hell. She wasn't playing these games with KC. Then we see a conversation between Zach and Kayda, and Zach saying, oh, I don't know, I just feel like every time I'm in these challenges and I say something, someone gets upset, but I cannot lie. I'm just trying to be real. Zach, the thing is, you can be real, but it's the explanations you're giving is what's rubbing people the wrong way. And we have seen you do the same thing that you did. We've seen you do it before. The same way you put a battery in Bryce's back, telling him that Trinity wasn't into him. And then you turn around and got into your feelings when he decided to pull your girl for a chat. Who have you pulled for a chat? Who have you explored your connection with? Not pull a chat, explored a connection with outside of Kayda. Nobody, okay? You're stirring up drama for no reason, and then you're hiding your hands. Like, what did I do? You know what you're doing. So let's talk about you wanting someone better to come into the villa before you take another step with Kayda. Let's talk about that, because the explanation you gave her didn't make sense, but she just went along with it. So please focus on you. How about that? Now Anniyah is pissed off and she doesn't want KC to smile or do anything, and honestly I was just like, Anniyah, chill, you're doing too much, okay? Now she kind of flips it and says that KC was saying she was a safe option. The guy never said that. Zach did say that, but that never came from KC, and now you're coming at him, and for me that was just a little bit crazy, okay? KC looked like he was just so over the conversation, but he does tell her that he's happy with where he's at, and he doesn't know how many times he has to reiterate that to her. Now, anyways, Kayda gets a text that the hideaway is open, and so the islanders chose for Zach and Kayda to go into the hideaway. And I personally was shocked about that because we just heard him say that he didn't want to get intimate with her. But anyways, they get ready and head to the hideaway. The islanders had a whole dance routine and all, and y'all, that is where the episode ends, with Kayda and Zach heading to the hideaway. Now, I need y'all to tell me in the comments, was Anniyah doing too much, or did she have every right to be upset? Also, do you think Zach is genuinely misunderstood, or is he stirring the pot on purpose and then playing innocent? And finally, are y'all buying Gabe and Jen as a couple, or are you side-eyeing that whole situation like I am? Spill all the tea down below, because you already know I'm going to be in the comments reading everything. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.